Dun, 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 Friday. Doc Booger got the pick of the week. Wearing a hat 'cause it's a bad hair day. Friday. Yeah. Still not a great intro for the show, but I keep trying. Glad to be back. Haven't been doing the show for a few weeks as I've been busy and I've traveled quite a bit, but happy to be here and talk about some records I listened to this week and maybe a few from last week. First up, got some live Kraftwerk bootlegs released in 2023. I can't even believe that live vinyl bootlegs are still a thing in 2023 because they usually get stamped out even back in the day. You can't even buy these on Discogs, but I found them in a store, so it must be okay. This first one's from around the Audubon album. It's an FM radio broadcast. Great performance. They play most of Audubon, and they even play some of the ambient stuff from Ralph and Florian, which is some of my favorite of their stuff. Really good sound quality. Has a nice frequency range from lows to highs and good depth. This other one is from 1981, the Computer World Tour, one of my favorite of their albums. This is FM radio broadcast in Japan, and performance is great. Sound quality is not really quite as good. It seems to be lacking a bit in the low end and even in some of the high end. It's just kind of a little muddy. And it's interesting. They begin the concert with some of Wendy Carlos's Beethoven's Ninth Symphony music from Clockwork Orange, and like with some vocoder and some church bells and stuff. Pretty cool. Next up, we got Kevin Ayers. Yes, we have no mañanas. And I really dig this album. It kind of just solidifies the idea that he was a big influence on Brian Eno and Roxy Music and David Bowie and other stuff like this. And this is interesting because this is in 1977, so all of the people that he's probably influenced the most, they're kind of in their heyday, and he's still doing some good stuff. Nice quirky pop songs with quirky lyrics like, you want to have your cake and eat it too, and one day that cake gonna turn around and eat you, Jack. Next up, we got some Kenny Rogers in the first edition. Now, this is like one of the first album of first editions where he decided this is Kenny Rogers in the first edition. It's not just first edition now. And look at old Kenneth. This album, I think, is called Burning. Something's Burning. Yeah. I don't know if anything's burning. This album's really kind of dull to me. It almost sounds like early, like Kenny Rogers solo stuff. And it's just a little smoothed over too much. There's one exception, like they do a version of Elvira. Their drummer became an actor, and he's in a bunch of movies. He's in like Sling Blade, plays the drummer in the little band. He's also in National Lampoon's Vacation. Now, he's all How Much You Got.
I'm asking you how much you got. All of it, boy.
So I've been on a bit of a metal kick lately. It started when I had to go on a work trip, and I loaded up my phone with some stuff from Tidal and got a bunch of Meshuggah and some Death. And it really kind of motivated me to listen to some more newish metal, because I'm not like the most loyal metal fan. I get interested in a lot of weird, easy listening music and other things, and I'll go down those rabbit holes for 5-10 years or something. So I haven't really kept up with metal that much, but I've had an ear for it lately. And so I was at the record store last week and picked up a couple of new things. I think these have been released within the last year or two. So first we have Conte, To Be Cruel, and Hell 3. These, I didn't really know what I was buying. I was kind of blind getting this stuff. But apparently this stuff is sort of doom, sludge, funeral metal. I don't even really know what to call it. But it seems like lately when I try to find new stuff, I end up in this subgenre of metal. It's like extremely slow. I'm not talking about like stoner metal where, it's just slow riffs and sort of like Black Sabbath-esque stuff. No, like this is like to a whole new extreme, Jack, where you just have really long, drony chords going, especially this one. And just repeat that for about 60 minutes. And I'm happy there's an audience for new experimental metal and there's these new subgenres. I just say that I'm not among those fans. Also got this Rockstrata reissue. They were the first metal band in Bangladesh to release an album, like first Bangladesh metal band to release an album. It was originally on cassette like in 1990 or 1991 and recently reissued on vinyl in very small quantities. It's very lo-fi, so that can be a little frustrating because like the musicianship of these guys is really off the charts, especially for the age. They were really young when they did this, and really following and carrying the torch of Megadeth and Iron Maiden. There's some great riffs on there and just some fantastic playing, solid thrash metal release from these guys. The drummer happens to be a friend and old coworker of mine, Abuba Rashid, and one of the nicest, most humble guys you can meet, and just a monster drummer. They have a newer release in 2014, I think. It's like more hi-fi, big studio sound, and if you're a thrash metal fan, check them out. Got the soundtrack to the Andromeda Strain, and I had to start over the recording because this broke the camera. Now it's just too crazy. This is the craziest packaging I've ever seen for an album, especially a soundtrack album. You like open the folds and the hexagon shaped record comes out. This is by Gil Malay. He was a jazz musician and kind of got into weird experimental electronic music. Stuff like this is really avant-garde electronic stuff is kind of hit and miss with me. Luckily, this was a hit for me. He did a great job of building up the building up the tension in each of the pieces with different sounds and textures, and really evokes fear and wonder and WTF. Definitely enjoyed that one. Want to check out some more Gil Malay. Next up, we got Cars, Heartbeat City. Love the Cars. Love their mixture of rock, guitar, and like sort of synth wave and real drums and drum machine. It's kind of a perfect 80s band for me, and it's really super catchy songs, nice instrumentation. This album's no exception. I mean, they had 6 singles off of this album. Probably 3 or 4 of them you would recognize, like Drive and Magic. The title track kind of caught my ear this go around of listening to it. I don't think that one had caught my ear, but like the way that they use synth sounds and the synth hooks and even the guitar hooks, they're just so good that they even elevate some of the songs that would otherwise maybe a little dull. Interesting trivia song off of here, Drive, that you're certainly heard probably anytime you go to Walgreens. That's sort of a tune that they would play over the speakers at Walgreens now. That song has just stuck with me since I was a kid. It makes me think of the movie Christine for some reason. I don't know, maybe synthesizers, band that's called the Cars. But anyway, I was in this band in Starkville, Mississippi in like 2000 or so. And, we had a female lead singer songwriter, and it was me on guitar and a bass player and a drummer. And I decided, well, hey, we need to cover Drive. Why did I think that was a good idea? Well, I said, hey, I've got this cool like guitar part I made where I'm doing these volume swells. It sounds like a synthesizer, and I'm trying to do the rhythm part at the same time. Look at me, woo! I'm cool. And we have a female lead singer, like her vocal range is nowhere near suited for the song. I didn't care, Jack. We're gonna cover this song. And the poor bass player Jim Swope and drummer Scott Thomas, they're having to like play this slow, repetitive thing. And hats off to all them for patience and let me cover that. And I'm sure the audience probably like passed out and drooled in their beers, but that guitar part sure was cool now. Next up, we got old Linda Ronstadt, living in the USA. Love me some Linda Ronstadt. She got such a sweet voice, and some great rock guitar on here. Main surprise on this one for me was I had no idea that she covered Elvis Costello's Allison. She did a pretty good job of it too. Fun album though, good tunes. Next up, we got Debbie Harry's Cuckoo. I didn't know that she did any solo albums, especially not around like 1980 or 1979 when this came out, in Blondie's heyday. This was a thing she did with the people from Chic, like Nile Rodgers and whatnot. And, it has all the ingredients of something that should be awesome, but it just doesn't quite hit. Like, you've got some nice funky tracks on some of the stuff that you got Nile Rodgers doing his funk guitar thing. And I mean, sometimes Debbie Harry's in the pocket and it sounds cool. Sometimes it just seems kind of forced and awkward. There's a few good tunes on here though. I mean, it's definitely worth a listen, and it's an interesting curiosity. Also, H.R. Geiger did this painting, and also like a painting for the insert. And let's get on to the pick of the week. Now, we got old Joan Baez any day now. Now, this is sort of a backhanded compliment now, but let me just remind you, pick of the week is about like, what is it that I listened to that kind of got me down some tangent or got some song stuck in my head or some idea. It's not necessarily what I think is critically the greatest album of all the albums I've listened to this week. Now, I'm sorry, old Joan Baez. It's okay now. I don't mean I'm not trying to hurt your feelings now. I mean, there's some great songs on here. She has such a nice voice. This is the first Joan Baez album I've ever bought. It was like $1, so why not? She's playing Bob Dylan songs on this album, and that's really the only way I know of her or have heard her is when she was doing duets with Bob on the Rolling Thunder tour, which I've heard, live recordings of. And, this is 2 LPs. It's a little much for me. She has a nice voice, and some of the songs, she just knocks it out of the park. Like Sad-Eyed Lady of the Lowlands is probably the biggest highlight of this album. She just really kills it on that song. But, for 2 LPs, it sort of wears on me a bit. She doesn't have quite enough variety in the way she approaches the songs vocally. But anyway, there's some really good stuff on here. Um, One really awesome thing is the session musicians that she hired, like, just killed it. I mean, they're like Nashville A-listers, like Johnny Gimbel, old Pete Drake. Now, remember old Pete Drake, talking steel guitar guy? Kenny Butchery, Stephen Stills plays on here. And lo and behold, I'm looking through the list of musicians, and old Jerry Reed is on there. Now, anybody that knows me knows that song. I love me some Jerry Reed. I have loved him for years. And I had no idea that he was like doing a lot of session work at this time, right around 1969, especially like for like Joan Baez. So I'm listening to the album, and it's 2 LPs, and I'm not really hearing anything that just jumps out at me as, hey, that's Jerry Reed. And so I'm just thinking, well, I guess he's just playing some generic rhythm parts. But until we get to the last side of the last record, and then song, like, there is no mistaking, there's some Jerry Reed going on. Song. The reason I was picking it for pick of the week is it got a bunch of Bob Dylan songs stuck in my head, and I'm a Bob Dylan fan. I'm not like a fanatic. I don't play his music all the time, but I go on these Bob Dylan kicks a few times a year, maybe, or maybe once a year. And I'll listen to things like that Rolling Thunder tour live stuff where he sings some great songs with Joan Baez, or Blood on the Tracks is my favorite. I'll sit down and play and sing along to it. And you made it here somehow. You've been here now. Now, Doc Booger's a lot of things now, but he's not a great singer now. He kind of wait till nobody at the house to open up his vocal cords now. So anyway, that's it for pick of the week. Hopefully I can keep this going steady again on a weekly basis, but it is the holidays now, so sometimes you might just have to listen to your own records and talk to yourself about it, and listen to yourself talk about it. So that's it for Doc Booger's pick of the week. Get on now. Get on out of here. Say hi to your mom and them. Give them a hug for me.